So you all know that I couldn't just let that video end like that without giving y'all a part two of this shit, man. Y'all stay tuned.
They weren't no parts of it. It was like nobody wanted to talk about it.
So many could have, would have, and should have, could have been approved, should have been approved, and it could have helped people.
At the same time Rocky gave the serum to Precious, Dr. Davis was working with the FDA to get a clinical trial. But that clinical trial never happened. A frustrated Dr. Davis went all the way to Africa to continue his research. Linda Wilmez worked as the doctor's assistant in Africa. She says 6 hours before the clinical trial in the U.S. was supposed to start, the FDA pulled the plug, saying it needed more answers.
He said God had given him this vision to go get the antibody from this goat.
Rocky says she asked the doctor dozens of questions, and he even showed her a vial of the serum itself. She says when the doctor wasn't looking, she did something only a desperate mother would do.
But I know I took it.
What do you mean you took it?
I took the serum.
You stole it?
I stole it.
Did you think about asking Dr. Davis?
He couldn't.
You asked him for
I
it?
did.
And what did he say?
He couldn't do it because it wasn't FDA approved.
Rocky says with the knowledge she had, she gave Precious the serum, and within hours, Precious was different, full of energy, the kind a 6-year-old should have.
It scared me that she was all over the place, jumping off the couch.
Rocky says over the next few days, she kept giving Precious injections until the serum was gone.
She was just up, running around, wanting to eat.
Did you know for sure it was the serum?
It had to be the serum because she wasn't on anything. She wasn't taking anything.
Rocky and Precious came home to Washington, D.C., and Rocky says part of her was terrified someone would find out what she had done. But when she looked at how healthy Precious was, she didn't care.
What did I have to lose? Her? You gonna lock me up? Okay, that's a chance I was gonna take.
Not long after she got home, Precious went for a checkup. Doctors at the National Institutes of Health were monitoring her. When the lab report came back, Rocky says everyone was stunned about Precious's viral load.
I started shaking, I was sweating. I said, "Come here, Precious." And we was in there jumping and screaming, and I was like, "Your viral load is 0. Baby, your viral load is 0. And she was, oh my God, you talk about a good feeling. And at that point in time, I didn't care. I got on the phone, called Dr. Davis, and it was like a party.
Was he mad at you?
No, not at all.
He understood. He understood you were a desperate mother.
He understood the desperation.
Her lab report showed Precious's viral load was undetectable. There was no sign of the HIV virus in her blood.
Had any other medication done that?
Never.
Had any other medication come close?
Never.
Rocky says she didn't know how to tell the doctors at the NIH what she had done, but soon after they were all there at the Congressional Black Caucus, where an obviously healthier Precious was the keynote speaker.
I know many of you are looking at me and saying, what could a little girl like me have to say? My name is Precious Thomas.
Rocky decided that would be the time Precious would tell the world about the serum. Rocky says she was literally sick with worry.
I was nervous. I was sick.
Who would have thought something this special could be found in a goat?
That's when the story came out.
Then what happened?
Nothing.
A biological substance that is produced after a goat has been immunized with the AIDS virus, and then this specialized chemical that kills the AIDS virus is extracted out of the bloodstream.
Dr. Davis told Doug he first tested his theory in a lab at Tuskegee University in Alabama in 1996. He injected goats with AIDS, and instead of getting sick, they developed antibodies against the virus.
I have been with the doctor for a year and a half.
Dr. Davis's assistant, Linda Wilmez, says the idea isn't as crazy as it sounds.
It's no different than the serum that a horse can make if you've been bit by a snake.
In 2002, Linda went to Africa to help Dr. Davis in the Ivory Coast. And when she sat down with me, it was the first time she had ever told her story.
What I saw, what I experienced for the 2 years we were there, will last me my whole life.
Linda says she and Dr. Davis first met two men who both had AIDS.
These two gentlemen were very, very ill.
As part of their first clinical trial with the government's approval, Linda says Dr. Davis injected both men with his goat serum.
And once we started giving them the injections, everything changed for them. They got their energy back.
She says the patients went back to work, and she and Dr. Davis were thrilled.
And there are no side effects. Thus far, we've had no side effects.
And in most cases, if something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. However, I was there and I totally witnessed this, and it is very, very real.
Linda says the government then gave them the go-ahead for a larger clinical trial with 19 AIDS patients. And again, she says she witnessed the same results.
Literally, after the first injection, they started feeling strength and energy within a matter of 20 to 30 minutes. Most of them were actually strong enough within 72 hours to return to their jobs.
She remembers one woman who was too sick to walk into the clinic.
They brought her in, and literally she was on a stretcher. That's how sick she was. And within 30 minutes of her first injection, the strength came back and she actually walked out of the clinic.
Linda says the serum wasn't just killing the virus, it was doing it quickly. Doug was there when the lab results came back.
And that was all just glowing and was considered to be, just the capping the thing off that really gave them the proof they needed.
He says Dr. Davis and Linda were overjoyed.
Linda wept. He said, I told you this is exactly how this was going to come out. He wasn't surprised at the least. The viral count had dropped to the point it was undetectable.
I was shocked, I was amazed, I was in awe.
At that point, Doug started visually documenting Dr. Davis's research. They flew to the next door country of Ghana, whose government paid for yet another clinical trial. Doug says two men and a husband and wife came into the clinic. 4 people, all desperate, dealing with a virus they knew would kill them.
Overall, they were obviously very, very sick. They exhausted all means of any help there, and they knew they basically had a long, slow slide to the end.
In this never-before-seen footage, Dr. Davis introduced himself to the patients and told them what to expect.
Until 2 years has passed, not 2 days. 2 years have passed, with you being off of all medication, can we say this is a cure?
Then Dr. Davis gave the patients 2 injections, 1 in each arm.
It was a big needle and a lot, and it was obviously very painful. In very short order, felt and looked much better. When they came back the next day, they looked better, they walked better, they talked stronger, they were optimistic.
Well, now I feel better than before I came here.
Doug documented injections and reaction over the next several days.
And you slept well?
I slept very well.
And you ate well?
I ate very well.
Exactly what he said would happen happened.
And I pray that you will all continue to do just as well as you're doing now. And I know you will.
That's great.